Let's see what's in store with the dating doctor.
I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, and I'm here with my co-host.
Dr. Frank Powers.
And Frank and I are the Golden Dating Doctors, as well as Frank's been a psychologist for 40 years, and as
That
I
sounds like
have.
a long time.
We are going to be talking about being open to love after the death of a fiance.
And we're fiancés.
Absolutely. And our guest today is Dr. Chantel Dooley. Hi, Chantel.
Hello, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
And let me give you a little introduction. She's a powerhouse. She's part of the Impact Assessment Research and Data Division of the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, and that's called TAPS. And TAPS is a fabulous organization founded by our good friend Bonnie Carroll. After her husband passed away, she started the program. Chantel's been connected with TAPS following the loss of her fiance, Dr. Alex Stanton, and he was a special agent in the United States Air Force. And I just wanted to say a little bit about, we'll be talking about that and about his death. And they were engaged.
Not long after he was killed was our wedding days.
You investigate peer support in aiding military and veteran survivors after they navigate the grief and trauma after the loss of a military loved one. So you are really placed in a place to help a lot of people, but I want to get to your story and how you got here with the TAP surviving program. So give us your story.
Alex and I were engaged and I was teaching high school at the time. And I mean, Alex and I were a package deal. It was funny because he came home after having this photo taken and he was grumbling because this wasn't the tie he wanted to wear and he didn't know it was going to be picture day. So it's kind of comical that this is the photo that I see every time I get on Zoom and I remember that moment that he was grumbling that he would have worn a different tie. But Alex and I were engaged to be married. Our wedding date was coming up soon. It was going to be there over Memorial Day weekend, actually. And we were on our way to meet our wedding DJ to finalize the plans for our wedding when he was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Wow.
And Alex and I were a package deal. So at the time I was teaching high school and my students knew Alex, that he would come by and, we'd go to the kids' soccer games or their school plays, or he came and helped judge science fair. Every time I needed stuff done in the classroom, he was there. And so it was really, it felt very familiar, very family oriented with that type of life. And then after he was killed, I was never able to go back into the classroom, specifically for that reason. It was overpowering and became too much. And it was also really heartbreaking because I was barely holding it together. And yet when I'd see people, dear friends, family members that had the utmost care and concern for me, but when they looked at me, it was just like I was pouring my sadness all over everywhere I went. And so, being around familiar faces and people who loved me and wanted to help was also even more hard because they couldn't fix it.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I found the TAPS family, actually they found me, that I finally found a place where I belonged and that it was okay to share my sad story because everybody else was just as sad. And I remember the very first time I ever met Bonnie Carroll was at a Widows and Significant Others retreat. And it was interesting how I ended up to be at that retreat because being a fiance, I was not yet his wife. And so every grief support group I would go to, I was the only fiance. Or, anybody that met me for, one-on-one counseling, they didn't know how to treat me because I wasn't a widow. I didn't have paperwork to file. I didn't have, insurance claims to go through. That all rested with his father, who was his next of kin. But for me,
That's really interesting because you don't have anything. I mean, widows are so overcome with stuff.
Oh, well, there's so many things that they have to deal with. And here you're totally left out.
yeah. So it was it was very challenging, but I remember I was at Alex's grave because he was killed and then he was laid to rest over on St. Patrick's Day. And then Memorial Day was the first time that I was going to see his headstone because, he's laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. So we were there for the funeral, but they didn't have the headstone in yet. And so I flew back to DC to be there with him for what was supposed to be our wedding. And it
Mhm.
coincidentally happened to also be Memorial Day. And so there were all these people walking around in these red tap shirts. And, I'm at his headstone and I felt like I had to do something to commemorate all this love that I had nowhere to put it. I couldn't put it anywhere. I never got to tell him all the things that I wanted to tell him in my vows. I never got to, start this life with him. So on the plane, I had written out gone through another iteration of my vows, put it all together in a beautiful card that, I put a whole lot of scrapbooking and mementos in it from our life together and took it with him. So I had to have been the saddest person in the world because here it is, Memorial Day, and I'm trudging through the visitors center at Arlington National Cemetery, wheeling my carry-on bag in my backpack, holding a bouquet of flowers and this, beautiful card that I had put together. And so I walk all the way from the visitor center to section 60. By the time I get there, I'm sobbing, tears are rolling down my face, all my makeup's running down my face. And so I get to his headstone and just the overwhelming emotion hits you that I was supposed to be walking down the aisle to him on this day, not walking through a cemetery to get to a headstone on this day. And all these people are around because it's very busy on Memorial Day in section 60. And this one woman came by and she didn't say a word to me, but she just put her hand on my shoulder and gave you that squeeze that's just I feel you. I feel your tears. And she just walked away. Fortunately, he's not that far from the columbarium. And so I had walked over there after a little bit to stay in the shade for a minute. And I happened to see that same woman. And she looked at me and she goes, "Are you part of TAPS?" And I said, "No, I don't qualify for anything. We weren't married yet. I wasn't his wife." And she said, "No, you really need to call them because they do this for, they help everybody." So she gave me, it was their hotel key card, and it had the TAPS information printed on the hotel key card. She just handed it to me and I go back home and, didn't really think anything of it. And then the night after night after night of not sleeping, the anxiety, the grief, the overwhelming sadness that comes along when we lose someone we love so suddenly and tragically. And I called in the middle of the night and was just I just calling, nothing else. And wouldn't you know it, they kept me on the phone for over 2 hours.
Wow.
Talking about, our not necessarily my sadness, but just, our life, who he was. And I got to tell stories to somebody new that had never met him before and was meeting him for the first time. And so I had a beautiful conversation with her, but I still really wasn't sold because the woman who actually answered the phone, she was a surviving spouse. And then I get a TAPS magazine in the mail. And it was an article written by Erin Jacobson, and she actually leads the adult programming for TAPS. And I will never forget the look on my face, when I opened up that magazine and I saw an article that she had written, and it said right there in big bold letters, "Surviving Fiance." And I thought, oh, there's more? There's more of us out
Not
there?
alone.
You're not alone. She's not alone. It's been 8 years. We know that loneliness is one of the #1 problems in America today. And I'm looking at
Isolation and loneliness.
isolated and loneliness, and I'm looking at your man up there, and I'm thinking he's looking at us and smiling. And I'm thinking he might be thinking it might be time for you to start dating and thinking about being
At least a possibility.
the possibility.
At least a possibility.
You might want to entertain the possibility. Now, Frank and I have written this book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating. And we are the dating doctors, and we're going to step in for you right now for a minute and say to you, what do you think? what do you think he'd think after 8 years about his gal?
And what do you think he would say to you now after 8 years about your life and your going forward? About what would that be? What would he want for you?
Yeah, I do think he would want me to be happy. He would. The challenge and the roadblock that I have is it's very difficult not to not envision myself with someone else, because that's not the problem. But the problem becomes finding that right niche to where, you know, he will always and forever occupy a place in my heart.
You know,
Yes.
we have,
And any person that would come into your life would have to honor that. And if
yes,
they can't honor that,
then they
that
would
can't
not be in your life. No, I was married for 60 years and Frank has been divorced and
Mhm.
he honors my husband, Phil.
Yes, in fact, the book is in his honor.
It's dedicated to
Dedicated
Phil, who made all things possible.
Yes.
That's beautiful. I love that. And you know, the other thing that I find really challenging about dating, I've tried. I want to say I've gone on 3 days.
Okay, okay.
Hey, that's
That's a
free.
start.
That's great.
The hard part that I find is that, and I don't know if it's also the work that I do, but it's also really difficult to have a conversation with someone that when they're speaking on like a surface level. You know, it's not like you don't know that real deep down, deep level.
Mhm.
And that's been for me the most difficult part is that
You are working in an intense
Yeah,
area.
exactly.
No question about
And
it.
there's going to be very few people, especially men, who are going to be able to understand that and be able to appreciate that. So you are talking about a very small percentage of men who are even possibilities for your situation and your place where you're at now. But you know what? There is still that possibility.
You're only looking for one.
Yes.
right? I just need one.
Yes,
Yes.
but it's the needle in the haystack.
And you want to hold on to the fact is, you know, that's what I want, and I'm not going to settle for less. The
Right.
man is going to have to meet me where I'm at. And if he can't do that, then he's not a good candidate.
Which brings us to the point that it is important to be where the most people are, and it happens to be online. And
Mhm.
also you need to develop a profile where it's going to be
That
very
indicates that.
selective.
You say to them right up front, if you're not in that category, and I'm going to explain
This
it
is
to
who
you
I
if
am.
necessary, and if you're not there, don't apply.
Don't get in touch. Don't get
Don't
in touch with
apply.
me. Don't apply.
Only those that are there and understand what I'm saying apply, because I'm only looking for one.
One.
Right.
And, you know, it's important, we talk about it in the first chapter of the book, how to create. First of all, you need to put down what you like in relationships, what you liked about your man,
and what kinds
and
of
what
things
you
you
didn't
want to
like.
share.
And you can go to your background, and you don't have to say who it is. In relationship, what I liked, what I saw with my uncle and aunt, or my mother and father, or whatever. You make 2 lists of what, and that's going to impact the profile
Okay.
that you write for online.
And you
Very
have to,
thoughtful.
I think, and that's where you're at, is really say, you know, my need is special and it's very unique. And I don't want to disparage anyone who's not in that category. I'm just looking for someone in that
In that
category.
category.
And please understand that this is what my need is and this is what I'm looking for. And I hope to meet your need just like I want you to meet mine.
And only maybe 1 out of 20
Hey,
people that
it
you'll
might
even
be
want to
less
have
than that.
coffee with,
It might even be less
that you
than
even
that.
have coffee with.
That's right.
One was online, the other 2 were through like a friends
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
oh, you'd
and
be great, go meet her.
Yeah, right. And you don't,
Yeah.
I love online because you can tell people exactly what it is.
that you're looking
that you're
for.
looking for. And
And
the
you
bigger-
want to be as specific as possible because you're looking for someone in that very narrow range, maybe 3% of the population, but they're still out there. There still are people, but how do you get to them? How do you let them
Exactly.
know
How
that
do
this
they-
is what I want? So the more specific you can become on your profile, the better.
And we talk about that in the book. And one of the things I like about signing up for online dating is, you've got a little amygdala in your brain, a gland, and when you sign up and pay your money, it says, hey, I'm dating.
I'm getting ready.
And maybe you'll go to your class reunion, maybe you'll,
It could be
sign up
any
for
place,
something.
yeah.
But I just noticed you looking at your watch, and that's one of the things I want to say about this. It takes time.
It does.
And it does, and you do have to carve out that time, but you're young. You've got a lifetime that you are either going to decide to be in relationship or not.
Mhm.
You've got to make that decision because if you decide you want to be in a relationship, you're going to have to carve out that time. You're going to have to get our book, Open to Love, get a dating buddy.
Yeah.
Highly important. Don't do this on your own. Do not go into your head alone.
No,
You
no.
need to
It's a
find.
dangerous place to be. Alone.
Therapists are good to help you get started, but they're not going to be
Yeah.
with you when
Dating buddy is
when you
crucial.
go on a date, on a coffee meetup. We're not even talking about dates with you yet. We're talking about meetups. You meet this person in a coffee shop for a half hour max, and you tell them very nicely if it's
Yes, yeah, this is what I'm after, this is what I need. And please don't be offended if I say to you at the end of it, I really appreciate meeting you, but I don't want to waste your time. I know what I need, I know what I want, and I hope you know what you need and
And
you
good
know
luck.
what you want. And we just want to support one another in
And-
that process.
and good luck on your,
Yeah,
so
good
you
luck.
you have to do the quick turnaround, which isn't always easy. You don't want to spend time texting with people, talking on the phone, meet them as soon as possible, never give money. So
Yeah.
you avoid getting scammed. Everybody's afraid about being scammed. Let us know if you decide to go into this realm. We'd love to talk to
And
you.
we'll be your dating buddies
We'd
to
love
start off
to.
until you get one.
We will
Yes.
do that for you
We'll
if
do
you're
that.
interested in doing it. I love the work you're doing. And I want to say that you show how you can take lemons and turn them into lemonade. And I know that peer support and information is just huge for moving on in grief and loss and doing the things that you've done. I think this lovely woman is ready to move on into a little bit more of her
Well, think of
personal
us
life.
as potential dating buddies to get you ready and begin to look at the possibilities and also be realistic about that. There are very few men out there that are going to qualify, but they
That's
are
right.
out there.
But
They
you're
are out
only
there. How do
looking
you
for
find-
the one,
That's
the
right.
one, the one.
That's
And
right.
tell people where they can get in touch with you at TAPS if they're interested in this
Yeah.
peer support and military.
Yes, absolutely. So all of our publications are listed on taps.org/research. We have an entire page dedicated to the wonderful work we're doing as an organization that's been empirically validated.
Right.
And I'm here. That research at taps.org comes straight to me. So and several other research team members, but
And if you want to find us, you can find us at the Golden Dating Doctors, and you can also get our new book, Open to Love, on Amazon
Yes.
with all our advice.
It's so wonderful meeting you.
it was lovely to meet both of you as well. Thank
And-
you.
And good luck on your journey and making decisions in your life.
Thank you.
All right. And we want to thank everybody for joining us on this show today. And Frank and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own. And God bless.